Good morning, friends and enemies. I just wrapped up my 3 big league rookie drafts, and in those drafts, I had a combined total of 17 rookie picks. So I'm going to show you what I did with all of them, all right? A wide variety. Some of the picks I traded away. Some of the picks were first rounders. Some of the picks were fourth rounders, all right? We had a whole divvy of different strategies and different team builds that I had going into these rookie drafts. So I'm going to break it down league by league by league. Shout out the Knicks. Shout out the Celtics. Shout out you. Let's get moving. Okay, so league number 1, we got the Vlad Dynasty League, and I will hit you with the lay of the land here. This is a good team that I think can compete right away. It's, pretty standard super flex with a tiered PPR, tight end premium, etc. You can see my team on the left here. Like, it's a good team. We're ready to compete. In the super flex league, I have Mahomes, I have Lamar, I have Michael Penix, and I have really good running backs, JT, Chase Brown, good wide receivers, whatever. The team is good. We didn't perform very well last year, but this is a roster that could compete for sure if things break correctly. My picks going into this draft, I had the 106, the 112, the 204, the 311, and the 411. So we had 5 picks, and that is really good draft capital. I mean, you're a team with a strong roster. You have 2 first rounders and an early second rounder. You could take a second if you want, digest the board, all that good stuff, and let me show you what I did with my picks. Now, we named a bunch of picks that I had, and you don't see a lot of them. And the reason being is right before the draft kicked off, or maybe it was around the 104, 105, I got a trade offer in my inbox. The trade offer was me giving up my 106, my 112, and Jalen Waddle for CeeDee Lamb straight up. And I took that offer. I think it was a relatively fair offer on both sides. It might feel like an overpay. Like, I bet if you put it into trade calculators, the Waddle side wins by a little bit, but I don't really give a shit. I'm a competing team. There are very, 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 very few chances to acquire a dude like CeeDee Lamb. And while I'm looking at this draft, in my eyes, the 106 feels like a bit of a tier break, right? You have Genty, you got Hampton, you got Hunter, McMillan, and Cam Ward. After that, I really have no problem with who anyone takes at the 106. I think the consensus came out to Trayvon Henderson, but realistically, the guys going before him, you have the number 1 overall pick in Cam Ward. You have 2 first-round running backs and 2 very early wide receivers that are really talented. So Trayvon Henderson, while I have no doubt that he'll be a really good NFL player, and he might end up hitting, very, very high-end RB1 status, I do think just from a prospect standpoint, just from like the value of where that tier breaks, the 106 is a big tier break for me. Then you look at the 112, and the 112 is the 112. You'll get a good player. Maybe he's good, maybe he's not good. And then giving up Jalen Waddle. When I look at Miami, when I look at what their offense has been structured, and I know this is kind of like a projection just onto redraft this year in particular, but the way that Miami functions now, one, the vibes are weird there. The offensive line is terrible. Tyreek Hill, no idea if he's going to be in Miami this year. No idea if he's going to be in the NFL over the next couple of years. If he wants to retire and become a fucking streamer. The issue I have with Waddle is McDaniel came in, had a stellar fucking offense. Really cool, right? It was kind of like reinventing the game year over year, putting up 60-point games. And then defenses were just like, hey, we're going to play cover 2 the whole time, so you can't throw it over us. And teams did that at a league high rate, around 55%, which is what led to Jonnu Smith and Devon Achane having insane receiving number years, and Tyreek Hill kind of dropping off, Jalen Waddle dropping off. Obviously, injuries were involved there. But the problem is, like, when they start to design plays for their receivers, they're for Achane, they're for Jonnu Smith, they're for Tyreek Hill. I have no doubt that Waddle is a very talented wide receiver, but he is not their first or second read on design plays. Like, they don't design plays for him, and he just deals a lot of injuries. If you've had Waddle on your fantasy team, like either of the last 2 years, for you, that's probably a smash deal. So 106, 112, Jalen Waddle, moved him for CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb gives me like a really, really high power, full PPR weapon on my team. Was happy to do that. And again, with this roster, the fun part about having rookie drafts when you don't have any actual needs is like you do get to draft the best player available. You're not reaching for a specific player at any point in the draft. So we got to the 2-4, and I was really hoping Matthew Golden fell to me all the way down to the 2-4, but he did not. And when I look at my tiers and my rankings, I have Trey Harris and Caleb Johnson kind of together in that 112, 2-1 range in a tier together. So I was happy to get Trey Harris, Los Angeles Chargers wide receiver, down here at the 2-4. But when I look at all those, kind of early second round receivers, whether it's Luther Burden, Trey Harris, Jaden Higgins, I'm kind of happy to take any of those. And you'll see in my other drafts, like I do really practice what I preach. When guys are kind of in similar categories for me or in similar tiers, and I make the Trey Harris decision here, and then I have the same decision to make again in another draft, I'll usually diversify and go with the other guy, unless I have like an overwhelming love for a dude like Caleb Johnson versus RJ Harvey. I would take Caleb Johnson 9 out of 10 times. I wouldn't split that one draft here, one draft here. To me, they're completely different tiers. But like Harris, Higgins, Luther Burden, they're kind of similar to me. So I took Harris here. You'll see in the other drafts, I went a different direction after that. So I had the 2-4, we took Trey Harris. Then I had the 3-11 and the 4-11. And what I ended up doing was actually, once it hit like the 3-6 range, because, you know, there weren't a lot of good players. Like once you get down, you're looking at Jaden Blue, DJ Giddens, Jordan James, like those kind of players. To me, those are like the true 4th round dart throws. If you play Dynasty enough, those are the dudes you're drafting in the 4th round that are going to sit on your taxi squad. But when we were still at the 3-5, 3-6, 3-7, like you still have legit prospects on the board. Like Tyler Shuck's probably going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL this year. Jalen Noel is a legit prospect with day 2 draft capital. Elijah Arroyo is a, you know, basically top 50 tight end pick here. So I'm trying to get back into this tier. So I tried pretty hard to move up here. I tried pretty hard to get actually back-to-back picks. It didn't work, unfortunately. I ended up trading up to the 3-9 from the 3-11. I gave up the 3-11 and the 4-11 to move up to grab Shedeur Sanders here. I don't really have a hot take on Sanders. Again, he's a 5th round rookie pick, but I want to get a share. I want to get some stock in Shedeur in case he holds a grudge for the rest of his life and becomes a really good quarterback. So I was happy to get him there. I think he beats out Dylan Gabriel by like August. So I grabbed Shedeur. I don't need a quarterback, really. Like I said, I have Mahomes and Lamar and Michael Penix and Kirk if he ends up somewhere else. And then I had one last pick down here at the 4-6. Now, I can't for the life of me figure out why no one wants Pat Bryant. Maybe it's because just no one knew him prior to the draft. Maybe it's because he literally has an NPC name. Like Pat Bryant is insane. But he's a 3rd round pick. Like he was the 10th pick in the 3rd round by Sean Payton. I know Sean Payton's been horrendous the last few years at drafting wide receivers. And for the record, I did not like Troy Franklin or Marvin Mims coming out at all. Pat Bryant, not that I love him, but you're talking about like 6th and 7th round, picks here. You're talking about Brashard Smith is a 7th round pick. Damian Martinez is a 6th round pick. This guy's Kyle Monagai is a 7th round pick. Like Pat Bryant is an early 3rd round pick here in a wide receiver group attached to a very good offensive line, an up and coming quarterback with very little target competition outside of, the 29, 30-year-old Cortland Sutton. So I don't know if Pat Bryant has insane upside, but like to get a guy like him, and like even I see this with Isaac Tesla a lot, falling all the way down here into the 4th round, feels like incredible value. So I was trying to grab Pat Bryant in the 4th round everywhere I could. So that is the first draft. That is how I spent my 5 rookie picks. We traded a handful of them for CeeDee Lamb. We got Trey Harris in the 2nd, Shedeur in the 3rd, and Pat Bryant in the 4th. This is draft number 2, and pretty boring draft for me. I didn't have a lot of picks in this one. This is a competing team. I actually lost in the championship last year, and on my way to do so, I traded away my firsts around, was it like week 14 or week 15 for Cooper Kupp and James Conner to try to like overhaul the power that I had in that fucking lineup, and that obviously went south really quickly. It was a 111, so I gave that away. And in this one, I literally only had the 2-8 and the 4-11, so we'll make this quick. At the 2-8, I grabbed Jack Besh here. Jack Besh was a prospect I really liked. He goes to Vegas. They don't have a second receiver there. It's Jacoby Myers, it's Brock Bowers, and Geno Smith coming in elevates that entire passing game. And then you have Genty. So this offense should move pretty smoothly. I think Jack Besh is actually a super underrated separator. He's got really good size. He's like 6'1", 210, so he could bully on the outside. I really like him as a prospect. I wanted to make sure I grabbed him in one of the drafts. I don't think there were any second-round receivers left even when I got to that point. So happy to grab him there. And then at the 4-11, grab Torrey Horton. Torrey Horton's another dude who down there in the 6th round by Seattle. He's another really good underrated separator that I'm surprised, drops in drafts and people don't really take him down here. I think Seattle's got some low-key opportunity in that receiving group too, because you got JSN obviously who's going to vacuum up targets. They signed Cooper Kupp, but like I have so little confidence that Cooper Kupp's going to be a real impact player this year and more so beyond this year. So I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity in Seattle for that like wide receiver 2-3 spot to have some turnover. So listen, it's a 4-11. I'd just be saying things at this point. And we move to the last draft, the GOAT of Dynasty leagues, the GOAT of everything rookie related. That is the Go Fade Me Dynasty League, okay? And this is the fun one for us here because I had an insane amount of picks. My team was booty last year. So I ended up trading away a lot of my younger assets. I got rid of all the aging running backs. You know, I had guys like C-Mac and I had Tyreek Hill and I had Aaron Jones and I had a bunch of dudes like that I was just, you know, getting off my roster to get future rookie picks. So going into this draft, I had the 104, the 105, the 108, the 109, the 110, the 202, the 204, the 308, the 404, and the 408s. And I was ready to make picks, man. My team, not a good team, like I said. I have a nice group of wide receivers, so I didn't necessarily have to go down that route. And this was obviously a better class for running backs anyways. I desperately needed quarterbacks. I desperately needed running backs. And to be honest, I don't know that I actually walked away with filling up those holes. But this is not a team that's going to win a championship this year. So I was not super obsessed with like filling my starting roster or anything like that. The only quarterbacks I had on my roster were Russ, Kirk Cousins, and Tyrod Taylor. And like maybe Kirk goes to Cleveland and he's a starter for this year. Maybe Russ holds a job in New York. But if I had to guess between those two, I'm getting like, 10 to 17 overall starts. My wide receiver room is all right, though. Like I got Jackson Smith and Jigba, Lad McConkey, Khalil Shakir, Cortland Sutton, rest in peace, Tank Dell, Michael Pittman. So, like, we have something to work off of there. At tight end, I had Kyle Pitts. Oh, Lord. Kyle Pitts, who I benched last year for Zach Ertz over and over and over again. So, the point being was I needed a lot of good players, and I needed them fast, and I needed them now. 1-800-Liquidators. Give me your rookie picks now. So, let's talk about it. Genty goes 1, Hampton goes 2, Hunter goes 3. Again, I've talked about, I like those first 5 picks. To me, that's a tier right there. And I was really excited to get Cam Ward there at the 104 because I desperately needed a quarterback. And if he went earlier than 104, then I'd be sitting here and just continuing to stack wide receivers. Like if Cam Ward went 103, I would have went Travis Hunter and Tet McMillan 104, 105. But luckily, Cam Ward, and listen, I'm not like over the hills as Cam Ward is a prospect, but he's the number 1 overall pick in the draft. And, sometimes they flop, but more often than not, they at least give you a floor of like, a mid-tier quarterback, like the QB 15 or better. And a lot of times the QB 1 overall in the class ends up being a really good fantasy player. So Cam Ward at the 1, happy to get him. Then I went with Tet McMillan at the 105 there. The next 2 picks were Trayvon Henderson and then Snacks, the insane Giants fan, took Jackson Dart at the 107, which was obviously music to my fucking ears because I had the next 3 picks after that. I was hoping I can get Trayvon Henderson at the 108, but this is where my little running back run started here. I took Quinshon Judkins at the 108. I took Egbuka at the 109. And then I did take Caleb Johnson at the 110, and we'll talk about why he is not highlighted anymore after that. Now, you might be asking, right? Like, the only tight end I had on the roster, really, that was young and I could project a play for this year was Kyle Pitts. And you're looking and you're saying, Nick, you got the 108, the 109, the 110, and you have 2 guys, 2 really good prospects in Tyler Warren and Colson Loveland there that would fill that need perfectly. I decided to gamble here a little bit. I was looking at the rosters of the guys that pick after me. You got George, you got Scott, and you got Micah. Now, I looked at these rosters, and it was without a doubt a gamble here. George's team really only has Evan Ingram. Scott's team has Sam Laporta, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely. So I'm like, he's got a good enough room where he probably doesn't feel the pressure to grab a tight end. And then Micah hit on Brock Bowers last year, so I know he's not going to use his 2-1 on a tight end. So at that point, if Micah's out of the equation, all I'm hoping is George and Scott don't go back-to-back tight ends. All I'm hoping is they don't go Loveland Warren here. So George goes RJ Harvey right after Caleb. He said that he wanted Caleb really badly, ended up going with the running back, the other, the next running back in line, RJ Harvey. Scott takes Tyler Warren, which I was pretty surprised given his tight end room, but I knew, again, that set me up to the point where, like, Micah hit on Brock Bowers last year. He's not going to take the tight end. So it was a calculated risk here because I knew if I went Loveland at the 110, there's no chance that Caleb Johnson gets back to me at the 2-2. However, because there's these tiers of 2 tight ends there of Warren and Loveland, all I wanted was one of them to get back to me. I would have preferred Warren, but I don't care. Like, Loveland, top 10 pick, going to a really good offensive situation. Happy to bring him onto the team. So the calculated gamble paid off there. We nailed the 2-2. Next up was Luther Burden. Then at the 2-4, again, I have this pick. And exactly what I was saying to y'all in the beginning of this video, I had the 2-4. I had that decision to make again. Trey Harris or Jaden Higgins. I like both of them a lot as a prospect, so I'm not going to go all in on a player evaluation of like, oh, I like Trey Harris more than I like Jaden Higgins, because I don't even know if I honestly believe that. So I just diversified the revenue a little bit there, went with Jaden Higgins at the 2-4, and moved on with life. So up to this point, we're looking at Cam Ward, Tet McMillan, Quinshon Judkins, Emeka Ibuka, Caleb Johnson, Colson Loveland, Jaden Higgins. Now, here's where the first trade conversations came into play. Micah is a very big Steelers fan, and he needed a running back. So did I, right? Like Judkins and Caleb Johnson were probably going to be my starters for this year pretty much off the rip. But again, I'm not really competing for this year, so to hold on based on value would be kind of stupid. So he sends over a trade offer where he's giving me straight up a future first, his future first for Caleb Johnson. So now I have that decision to make. Do I punt Caleb Johnson for the next year? Now, Micah's team is actually, it's pretty good at this point. Like you look at the bottom here, you got Drake May, you got CJ Stroud, you got Michael Penix, you have Devon Achane, Nico Collins, Brock Bowers, and then you add in the rookie picks that he has, right? Like Travis Hunter, Matthew Golden, Caleb Johnson now. So I'm looking at his team and I'm like, that's a pretty good starting roster. Obviously, if you've been in Dynasty long enough, like one of the mistakes that you will learn is like punting off your future first round pick. Sometimes it works out for you. You're always like, don't worry, it's going to be the 111, 112. A lot of the times that ends up being like the 103, the 105, the 106. And you're like, fuck, I wish I didn't trade that away. So that's kind of the situation here. He's got a very strong starting lineup, but like one or two things go wrong, right? Like CJ Stroud gets hurt or whatever. That tanks both Stroud and Nico Collins. And then all of a sudden the team is not as powerful as you thought. And, whatever. I was just kind of punting the value down to the next draft class. The other reason I did that was because, again, looking at my roster, like I badly need another high-end quarterback. And I know next year's class is much stronger at the QB position than this year's class. And listen, I might end up with like the 104 and the 110 and not really even be able to get one of those top tier guys. But, as I'm building this roster back up, that's kind of the way I'm thinking. So Caleb, I hate that I let him go. I love Caleb. Like the landing spot was perfect. And I have a really, really strong feeling this is going to backfire in my fucking face. Luckily, though, that future first round pick, it will never lose value leading up to the draft. So it's not like I swapped Caleb for a risky play here, and I'm hoping that player is going to be good at the NFL level. I swapped it for a future first round pick. The other thing with Micah is like the team is good on paper, but realistically, Micah's kind of like the Browns. You look at his team, you look at him as a player, him as an owner, him as a manager, and you're like, oh, you know what? On paper, pretty good. But at the end of the year, something's going to go fucking completely wrong and haywire, and it's going to end up being a high pick. He is actually the Cleveland Browns of this league, and that was the other reason. I was like, there's just no way Mike is going to be good, right? He's been rebuilding for 6 years and finally has like a decent team. So that is what happened with Caleb. I basically gave away the 110, a third-round running back for a future first, where I think has the upside to be anywhere from the 104 to the 108. If I had to project, I would say it's going to be in like the 106 to the 108.9 range. I think he's probably a playoff team, but again, with a little bit of bad luck, it could go south. After that, now I did not originally have the 3-6, but I got a trade offer in my inbox for Isaiah Pacheco, who was on my team, and he would have been my second running back again. But because I'm not in a spot to win right now, I look at Pacheco as one of the most tradable assets. One, I barely feel good about him for this year alone. So we're talking about by the time I'm ready to compete in 2 years, like Pacheco's value could be absolute dust. So I moved Pacheco for a 2027 second and the 306 here. So I got 2 picks out of him. Happy to do so. With the 3-6, replaced him with another Chief in Jalen Royals. Now, you look at the 4 picks before him and would have been fucking ecstatic to get Mason Taylor, Kyle Williams, Jalen Noel, clear kind of drop off in tier for me here. But we grabbed Jalen Royals. He's a guy whose tape I really, really liked. He's a guy who, they came out and said if Rashee Rice is not really ready to go, then Jalen Royals is going to step in and play that role. And I think he fits that offense really, really well as an outside possession receiver. So I grabbed him. 2 picks later, grabbed Elijah Arroyo. So now my tight end room went from Kyle Pitts to Kyle Pitts, Colson Loveland, Elijah Arroyo, Zach Ertz. So I will have someone there to start in the next couple of years. In the 4th round, we had Pat Bryant, and then I grabbed another Chief in Rashard Smith. He was one of my priority taxi ad squads in the video that I made last week. So if you have not seen that, we will link that right at the end of this video so you can suck that information in. There was a list of about 5 or 6 guys that if your rookie drafts already happened, these are the dudes I would prioritize on the waiver wire ASAP Rocky, and Rashard Smith was at the very top of that list. So again, Pat Bryant, he was a 4th-round target for me here, 3rd-round pick to Denver. No idea why he's getting zero absolute love here. And then Rashard Smith, 7th-round pick, but I think his pass catching profile fits perfectly with what that backfield actually needs. So this was my haul at the end of this draft. Add in a 2026 first, add in a 2027 second, and that is how I walked away from this draft. So ultimately happy. I will say, for the amount of draft capital I have, kind of disappointing to walk away with just Judkins in this draft class, because if he flops, then I am again really hurt at running back. That being said, though, we only have to start 2 running backs. It is half PPR. There's no crazy rules here. So it's like, it's probably not that difficult to fill your RB2 slot with someone that, you know, you just kind of grab off waivers or grab in the 2nd or 3rd round of your rookie drafts. I will hit the waiver wire after this and try to pick up some later round running backs as well. But that is what I did with all 17 of my rookie draft picks. Again, some trades, some draft capital, some future draft cap. Let me know what you thought about the video. These are actually probably my favorite Dynasty videos to make each year after my rookie drafts wrap up. I was going to make it last week. I apologize for the lack of content, but these motherfuckers took forever. You got the dude like Snacks, literally. He's like on the clock 1 p.m. on a Sunday. Listen, I get it. We all have different lives and everybody has different things going on. But if you're on the clock on a fucking Sunday afternoon and you get that 1 p.m. slot, make your damn pick. It was like the 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. I get it if it's like 10 p.m. or later, people are sleeping, they're with their families, whatever. It's overnight, you got work. If you're going to take that prime spot on a weekend, get your fucking notifications on, make your fucking draft picks, or trade within an hour. Fuck this shit. Fuck this shit.